Oh, so now the Aces are crying about a special whistle? Really? That's the excuse we're going with? If you actually watched Game 4, you'd know this wasn't about referees handing out favors. This was about the Indiana Fever walking straight into the Lions' den and flipping the entire script of the finals. This wasn't luck. This wasn't some magical whistle blowing every time the Fever touched the ball. No, this was grit, rebounds, pure paint dominance. Indiana stood tall and said loud and clear, "We're not here to be your storyline. We're here to take it." But of course, when a dynasty like the Aces stumbles, suddenly everyone wants to find a conspiracy. Suddenly, it's not that the Fever played harder, smarter, tougher. It's that the refs had an agenda. Convenient, isn't it? Let's be real. Indiana earned 21 free throw attempts because they lived in the paint. They crashed boards. They forced contact. The Aces? They settled. Jumper after jumper after jumper. And when those shots didn't fall, what did they do? Point fingers at the officiating. But here's the truth. Basketball doesn't reward excuses. It rewards execution. And in Game 4, Indiana executed with surgical precision. From the opening tip, Aliyah Boston looked like she had something to prove. She wasn't backing down from A'ja Wilson. No hesitation, no fear. She attacked the rim with that raw rookie confidence that says, "I don't care who you are. I'm here to dominate." Meanwhile, A'ja Wilson, she looked frustrated. Every missed shot, every whistle that didn't go her way, it chipped away at her composure. And when your superstar loses composure, your whole team starts to crumble. But sure, let's just call it a special whistle. What we really saw was Indiana turning frustration into fuel. Boston is putting its stamp on the finals. Kelsey Mitchell is stepping up with fearless scoring. And Lexi Hull, oh, her defense was relentless. Every possession, every hustle play, she gave Indiana the kind of edge that no stat sheet can fully capture. And the crowd felt it. Every time Boston grabbed an offensive rebound, every time Mitchell drilled a clutch shot, the building shook. The energy wasn't just noise, it was belief. The Fever faithful weren't just watching a game. They were watching history being rewritten in real time. And the numbers? They tell the same story. Indiana out-rebounded Las Vegas. They dominated points in the paint. They shot with efficiency at the line. None of that happens because of whistles. That happens because of toughness, because of discipline. Because when Vegas panicked, Indiana stayed locked in. So here's the reality the Aces don't want to face. Game 4 wasn't stolen. It was taken. With authority, with heart, with hustle. And now, the series isn't Vegas cruising to another easy championship. It's 2-2, dead even. Winner take all. And you better believe Indiana's confidence is sky high. They've proven they can go toe-to-toe with the so-called dynasty. They've proven the moment isn't too big. And now? Now, the pressure isn't on them. It's on Vegas, because if the Fever walk into Game 5 with the same energy they brought in Game 4, we might just be looking at one of the biggest upsets in WNBA history. The Aces can whine about whistles all they want, but at the end of the day, history won't remember excuses. History remembers winners, and right now, the Fever are writing a story no whistle could ever create. A story about heart, resilience, and the refusal to bow down to a dynasty. So buckle up, because this finals isn't just about basketball anymore. It's about pride, it's about narrative, and it's about one young team standing in the face of giants and saying, "Not today." Game 4 wasn't just basketball, it was survival. Indiana stepped onto the court knowing full well the odds were stacked against them. Las Vegas had the reputation, the banners, the stars, the dynasty label, but Indiana had hunger. And sometimes, hunger will devour talent. From the very first possession, you could see the difference in body language. The Fever weren't tentative. They weren't intimidated. They attacked. They moved the ball with urgency. They cut hard. They forced the Aces to defend every single inch of the floor. Aliyah Boston set the tone early. She posted up deep, demanded the ball, and when she got it, she went right into Wilson's chest. No hesitation, no back down. That first bucket wasn't just 2 points. It was a message. And then came the rebounding. Indiana swarmed the glass like their lives depended on it. Boston and Nalissa Smith crashed so hard that even when they didn't secure the ball, they disrupted enough to give second chances. That relentless paint presence not only led to points, it rattled the aces. The Fever finished with a decisive edge on the boards. Every offensive rebound felt like a gut punch to Vegas, because nothing drains your energy like playing 30 seconds of tough defense, forcing a miss, and then watching your opponent snatch the ball right back. Meanwhile, Vegas looked flat. They leaned on perimeter jumpers, often early in the shot clock. Sure, when they're falling, the aces look unstoppable. But in Game 4, those shots rimmed out again and again. Instead of adjusting, instead of pounding the paint, Vegas doubled down on long jumpers. That's where the special whistle excuse falls apart. Indiana was living in the lane. Of course, they got fouled more. Vegas? They were living outside the arc. Jump shooters don't get whistles the same way rim attackers do. And when the Fever started stacking free throws, the frustration built. Becky Hammon paced the sideline, shaking her head, pleading with referees, but the reality was clear. The aces weren't losing to the refs. They were losing to themselves. Let's talk momentum swings. Midway through the second quarter, Vegas tried to make a run. Chelsea Gray hit back-to-back mid-range shots. The crowd roared. For a moment, it looked like the dynasty was waking up. But then, boom, Kelsey Mitchell silenced it with a fearless 3. Next possession, Boston and Smith grabbed a pair of offensive boards before Boston muscled in another bucket. The Fever answered every Vegas surge with fire of their own. And that's the thing. The Fever didn't just play to keep up. They played to dictate. By halftime, it was obvious. This wasn't an accident. Indiana wasn't fluking into a lead. They were owning this game. The second half brought more of the same. The aces pressed harder. Wilson tried to force her way inside, but Boston never flinched. Even when she picked up fouls, she kept attacking, kept drawing contact, kept putting pressure on the defense. And let's not forget Lexi Hull. Her hustle plays were everywhere, chasing loose balls, diving on the floor, contesting every shot like it was the last. She didn't care about stats, she cared about breaking Vegas's rhythm. By the fourth quarter, the aces weren't just trailing, they looked defeated. The body language was there. Slumped shoulders, frustrated glances, forced shots. Indiana smelled blood, and they closed with the same aggression they started with. Final buzzer. Fever wins. Series tied. The building exploded. But the sound wasn't just joy. It was disbelief turned into belief. The underdogs had punched the champs right in the mouth, and suddenly the finals were no longer predictable. Every story needs heroes and villains, right? In this final, the roles wrote themselves. On one side, Aliyah Boston, the rookie-turned-warrior, refusing to bow to the league's biggest star. On the other hand, A'ja Wilson, the reigning MVP, the face of the dynasty, is suddenly showing cracks in the armor. Boston's story is almost poetic. A first-year player, expected to gain experience, not to lead a finals charge. Yet here she is, carrying herself like a veteran, demanding respect. Her every rebound, her every bucket, it wasn't just scoring, it was defiance. And then there's Wilson. Normally unstoppable, she suddenly looked human. The missed shots, the complaints to the refs, the mounting frustration, it gave the Fever life. For years, Vegas has relied on her dominance. But in Game 4, Indiana flipped the script and turned her into the symbol of a rattled dynasty. To the Fever fans, Boston is the embodiment of hope. To Aces fans, Wilson is supposed to be the savior. And that clash? That's what makes this series more than just basketball. It's theater. Of course, no finals battle is won by one player alone. Indiana's supporting cast rose like never before, proving that championships aren't built on individual brilliance. They're built on collective fire. Kelsey Mitchell was fearless. Every time Vegas looked ready to rally, she answered with cold-blooded precision. A pull-up three to silence the crowd, a driving layup through contact, or a perfectly timed dish to an open shooter. Mitchell wasn't just putting up points, she was crushing the Aces' spirit. She became the kind of closer every team dreams about, the one who thrives under bright lights and refuses to blink when the game tightens. Then there was Lexi Hull, the defensive anchor nobody could ignore. Every possession she disrupted chipped away at Vegas's rhythm. She hounded Jackie Young, fought through screens, and dove for every loose ball as if the series depended on it. Her defensive energy wasn't glamorous, but it was relentless, and it changed the entire flow of the game. Odyssey Sims and Shaw Petty delivered sparks of their own. Sims brought a fearless pace, slicing into the lane and forcing Vegas to scramble. Petty steadied the ship when things threatened to unravel, making smart reads and knocking down timely shots. Together, Indiana's role players didn't just fill gaps, they amplified intensity. They reminded the Aces of something dynasties often forget. Hunger beats comfort, and a team with nothing to lose can be the most dangerous team of all. Let's break it down in cold, hard numbers. Rebounding. Indiana's dominance on the glass was the difference. They didn't just grab boards, they turned them into second-chance points that crushed Vegas. Possession after possession. The Fever extended plays, demoralizing the Aces and forcing them to defend for longer stretches. Vegas, a team that prided itself on controlling the boards all season, suddenly looked helpless. Points in the paint. The Fever scored almost double what Vegas managed inside. Attacking the rim wasn't just a strategy, it was a statement. Indiana dared the officials to call fouls, dared Vegas to physically match their aggression, and they won that battle every single quarter. For a team like Vegas, built on flash and star power, watching Indiana bully them in the paint was a psychological blow as much as a scoreboard one. Free throws, 21 attempts for Indiana versus 9 for Vegas. That's not favoritism. That's aggression rewarded. When you live in the lane, you force whistles. The Fever didn't hope for calls. They earned them by dictating where the game was played. Shot selection. Vegas leaned on contested jumpers. Indiana lived in the lane. Simple math says the Fever played smarter. By the final buzzer, the stat sheet didn't just show who scored more, it revealed who had imposed their will. Becky Hammon will point to whistles, but the film doesn't lie. The Fever earned everything. Vegas, they settled, and they paid. And now we stand on the edge of history. Game 5. Winner take all. Vegas returns home with the pressure of a dynasty's reputation hanging on them. Anything less than a championship will be seen as failure. That's a heavy crown to wear. The Aces know what's at stake. They're not just defending a title, they're defending their legacy. A back-to-back champion can claim dominance, but losing on their home floor to a young, hungry Fever team, that stain lingers forever. Indiana, on the other hand, they're playing with house money. Nobody expected them here. Nobody gave them a chance when the finals began. That freedom makes them dangerous, because the only thing scarier than a talented team is a fearless one. The Fever believe now. The Aces doubt. And sometimes belief outweighs experience. The numbers back it up, too. Indiana has out-rebounded Vegas in 3 of the 4 games, and they've forced the Aces into more turnovers under pressure. That tells you something. The Fever aren't just lucky. They're systematically disrupting the champs. If Indiana carries the same energy into Vegas, if Boston stays relentless, if Mitchell remains fearless, this could be the upset that shakes the WNBA to its core. History is not promised, but it is waiting, and both teams know only one will claim it. At the end of the day, this series isn't just about who holds the trophy. It's about what it represents. For Vegas, it's about protecting their dynasty, proving they're still the queens of the league. For Indiana, it's about rewriting history, about showing the world that heart, hunger, and unity can topple giants. And for the fans, it's about witnessing one of the greatest finals battles in WNBA history. The Aces can keep crying about whistles. The Fever, they'll keep fighting. And when the dust settles, history won't remember excuses. History will remember who stood tallest when it mattered most. So, here we are. Game 5. The stage is set. The dynasty versus the Dreamers. One last battle for respect. And if Indiana finishes the job, the world won't call them lucky. They'll call them champions.